Friends and relatives of psychopaths or sociopaths, how did you realize they weren't normal? I can't prove they were, but I'm pretty convinced an old friend was. Haven't spoken in ages, thankfully. For starters, he had a complete inability to feel any remorse for his actions. He could coldly drop people from his life for the smallest infractions, be emotionally abusive to the girls he dated, say/do damn near anything without thinking anything of it. And while I don't think I ever remember him sharing any personal details, I do remember how his eyes used to light up if people started getting personal about their lives or insecurities or anything. Like he was recording and filing that info away for later in case he needed to use it. I was in kindergarten and my mom worked at my school providing support for kids with behavioral problems. My best friend was this charming, sweet boy who was always really nice to me, if maybe a little quiet when other kids would come hang out with us. I never realized there was anything wrong with him, frankly. My mom, however, knew that he had bedwetting problems, he had been caught torturing animals, and he was in therapy for talking about setting his house on fire while his family slept. She put me in a new school because she was so afraid he would become fixated on me if she tried to stop us from being friends. She's worked with a lot of kids with a wide variety of shitty situations, but she says that kid is the only one who ever actually frightened her for his total lack of humanity. He was able to put on a very convincing act, but he didn't really care about anything. Yikes, that's the trifecta according to FBI profilers. My stepson. We kind of joked about it at first, but later it was a real question, but we didn't believe it. Some of it was easy to brush off as kids stuff, but it was constant that it was exhausting. The second his dad and I were exhausted, he escalated. So he'd wear you thin, and the second you were tired or focused on something else, he'd steal something, break something, or put my daughter, younger than him, in danger or hurt her. You had to worry about what you told him. If I said, doing X will hurt the cat, he would 100% do X the first chance he got. He was a little though, but so patient, and he didn't forget things. He was SA'd by his older brother while at his mom's house, but it didn't seem to bother him. Which we wrote off as making some sense. His brother was always mean and doing weird, mean stuff from his perspective. He did not understand it fully, and we were worried about how he would react when he was older and did understand. We got him therapy immediately and separated them completely. He did really well in therapy, and his therapist was confident that he was both incapable of repeating his assault and showed no indication that he would assault others. He asked lots of really in-depth questions about sex and what was and wasn't allowed, what other bad people do, and how they get away with it while in therapy. This is according to his therapist. Using that information and the information about how other people might try to hurt him, also gained from his therapist, he SA'd my daughter. He did not care one bit that he scared her or that he hurt her. He said he knew what he was doing and that he wanted to hurt her, that he wanted to see what she'd do. He was much more manipulative and smarter than his older brother, and what he did to her was in no way like what happened to him. It was refined and had a psychological, coercive element that he seemed to particularly enjoy. He literally used his therapist as a resource on how to manipulate and grape my daughter. He was only 8 and she was 7. When I hung out with other friends in his presence, I noticed he would find the most vulnerable person and poke at him without stopping. He would only stop when someone more confident/dominant would check his behavior. I also noticed his friendship was based on utility. No gift was ever for the pleasure of giving. It was credit for a request that would come later down the road. Everything was calculated in that regard. When he told me he liked to make cats suffer, it sealed the deal. I had a guy I used to work with. Super cool guy. I would give him rides home and he would make a joke about the loud ass noise my AC fans would make when I initially started my car, saying, "You got a 12-year-old in this small area making that noise?" And he would make that joke a few more times after the initial ride. Fast forward a year later, he was arrested for attempting to kidnap a 12-year-old in a grocery store. He was charged with something like kidnapping with the attempt to sexually penetrate. I'm still shocked I never took it as a creepy joke, but looking back now, damn. Oh wow. I had a similar experience, but only for the joke part. I had a creepy coworker/supervisor who always gave me rides after our shifts, and he would joke, every time, including the first time when I barely knew him, about kidnapping me. At first I thought it was an unfunny weird joke, then the fact that he always mentioned it, plus the fact that he was actually creepy at work and sexually harassing me, and the fact that one day he went into details on how he would do it and that the only problem would be that most Los Angeles homes don't have a basement. Let's just say that I never let him give me rides after that. And quit that job as soon as I was able to. And although I never took him seriously, reading your story made me think about my own situation and what could have happened. Unfortunately, when he assaulted me. Same, I'm sorry you went through that. I kept my horses at a local stable when I was a teenager, and there was this man who was in his early/mid-20s who kept a horse there. My horse trainer always said he was off, but us teens liked him. Red flag that he wanted to be friends with 12 to 16-year-olds lol. The red flags for me popped up when he started being pretty nasty/abusive to his horse. It made me super uncomfortable. He got married to a woman 15 years older than him, and turns out he was molesting her children. He also kidnapped a teen out of a troubled teen facility and held him hostage for sex. He's in jail now. Edited to add, just found out he got killed in jail. I was sitting by the pool with my next door neighbor who was a psychiatrist, and he told me my husband, now ex, was a sociopath and that he was worried about me. Woke me the fuck up to my situation. That sounds like waking up to a horror movie somehow. Can I ask what he said or observed that made him draw that conclusion? I'm not sure, but he was trained, so I'm going to think he saw through the veil of civility that my ex wore. His main concern was my well-being. What did you do, if you don't mind me asking? I didn't even know what a sociopath was, so I asked. Armed with the knowledge, I started to observe his behavior and how he treated me. After a year, I decided I wanted out. I took another year to set myself up and then left. He lost his mind. Did horrible things to me. But in the end, I understood that happiness was the best revenge. More details, please. How long were you married to him? 5 years, 4 months. I was only 23 when we married. He was 35. I'm not sure what details you want. He was the most charming man you might ever meet. I was well educated and beautiful, and he was a Harvard graduate, better educated than I, and yet he felt he had to lie about his life, his success. He was a pathological liar. The stories he told. I'm still finding out lies. He was asked to be in several weddings, and on the wedding day called with outrageous stories why he couldn't make it. He needed to control my every move and every interaction. He worried constantly that I would end up more successful than him and did all he could to hold me back. He was constantly saying I must be cheating on him. He was the one cheating. My family gave us a large chunk of money when we wed. He pulled it out of our joint account, said it was lost in a bad investment. I doubt this. I meanwhile thought only the best of him when we first married. I admired him, his charm, and intellectual acumen in his field of study. The lies were never necessary, people admired him. My uncle is a sociopath. That side of the family is messed up, so no one noticed for a long time that he wasn't normal. Took myself and my father, as outsiders, to finally realize he was completely incapable of real emotion. He just faked it. And faked it well. I could go on and on with sorties. The final straw with us was when my father went to work for him. Took a good year before he realized my entire uncle's business was a scam and possible outright fraud. This was pre-internet, so word of mouth got around really slow back then, and so much money was basically stolen. Think of a massive Ponzi scheme. He eventually delivered on his promise, but took 2 to 3 more suckers to get there. Eventually, regulators came down on him. He lost wife number 2. Turned out all her money was tied to his business, and her parents' money. All gone. We cut ties from him as well. Nothing was his fault. If you challenged him, he turned on you fast. He is on wife number 3 now. From what we see via Facebook and some family still in contact, he tries one get-rich scheme after another. His online life is full of complete lies. Wife number 3 is also successful, and he just leeches off of her. The frustrating part is if you were to meet him in person, you would like him, believe his stories completely, and ask us why we were so mean to him. Yes, this has happened before. 100% understand the everyone loves them part of this. My father is actually a really fun guy to hang out with if you're just meeting him. He's also destroyed pretty much every one of his close relationships, and then can't understand what's wrong with all of us to make every single one of us behave this way toward him. Worst part is you see new people entering his circle. You know their life is about to be ruined. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. By any chance, is he shilling NFTs? Ha, God, it wouldn't surprise me. Real estate in the 80s. Day trading in the 90s. I'm sure crypto and NFTs are his new thing. I knew someone that I could classify as a sociopath. She would deny it to no end, but it was little things here and there until she ended up threatening to extort me, and I got a restraining order. She was dating my ex's brother at the time and was very friendly with me at first. But then issues started coming up. Like her repeating something I would vent to her about to my ex's parents and getting everyone involved. They made me sit down and apologize about everything in front of everyone. It was very embarrassing. She would also make comments about my clothes and makeup. Something along the lines of, "I like natural makeup more, not trying to be out looking like a clown," and, "You can come to this event, but please don't wear those leggings." It eventually escalated into her catfishing me. She posed as someone I used to go to school with. Created a fake Facebook page and all. Apparently she used every single thing about those conversations against me. She also hacked into my Facebook and took messages I sent to other people against me. She threatened to use all of this information against me and tell the family about it all. I took all the information and threats to court with me and was awarded with a restraining order. But that wasn't enough. She would tell old friends of mine that I was accusing them of being child molesters and other insanely horrible things. It cost me many friendships and bunch of sanity. Trigger warning for animal abuse. I realized my dad was when he used to let our vicious dog chase and maul kittens for sport. He thought it was funny. Once I was old enough to move out, I cut all contact. He had all the traits of a narcissistic sociopath. This reminds me of a woman who found out her dad was a serial killer. She said he was a very good dad, very loving, and caring. Not abusive. She said only once did he ever do something that would indicate he had a cruel side. She found some kittens and showed them to her. She was 6. He asked her to give them to him. She refused, as she could tell he wanted to hurt them. He took them and hung them on a clothesline. She cried and went to get her mother. When she came back out, they were all dead. She could tell he really enjoyed how she was in pain over it all. She still had a relationship with him while he was in prison until he did something weird and she cut him off. That's horrifying. My dad would have gotten the same gross pleasure from that. I'm honestly surprised he didn't turn into a family annihilator. I used to have vivid nightmares of him shooting me with a shotgun while I slept. We live in a tiny town, so people thought he was an upstanding guy. He worked in law enforcement, was a veteran, and extremely gracious to those in need. I think that's the only reason he didn't kill us. He cared more about his image than anything. My first college roommate. But I came to the conclusion that he was a psychopath/sociopath after reading a book years ago. He wasn't an evil person. Never hurt anyone physically. But had a lot of the telltale traits like superficial kindness and charm that could switch to an unapologetic bluntness if he was giving someone advice. He'd make a girl cry and just say it was because he told her things she needed to hear. He had a very high opinion of himself. He once dumped a girl after he learned there was a history of heart problems in her family. You know, like every fucking family, because that means she has bad genes and, why would I date someone that isn't perfect? One might brush all that off and say he was just a dick. But I've met plenty of dicks and there was something different about him. Most dicks you can spot pretty quickly, but with this guy you didn't see it right away. He had a veneer on him but wasn't afraid to tear it right off if he felt it was justified. But he could put it back on like it was a hat. Still, he wasn't evil, wasn't violent, didn't snap or lash out at people. Just completely lacked empathy, but had an easy time faking it until he felt there was a reason not to. I'm pretty sure the last guy I dated may have been a sociopath. He didn't care about anything except himself. His mom died of cancer and he just didn't care. He never mentioned whether or not he had a strained relationship with her, and the couple times I met her she seemed very nice. His response to her death was, "Oh cool, now she won't be around to nag me all the time." And that was that. He never showed any sort of grief over her loss. When my grandfather died, his response to me was, "So what? It's just your grandpa." No emotional support from him whatsoever. Never took no for an answer. If I didn't want sex, he'd manipulate me until I gave him what he wanted. He asked for sex almost immediately after I found out my grandpa died. He knew how to act charming to people/strangers to get what he wanted. He'd then tell me later about how he went about manipulating them and how easy it was. Everyone I knew thought he was the sweetest guy, but I was the one who actually saw his tactics and suffered his abuse. He was vegan, and part of me thinks he did it to pretend to sound compassionate. He'd always talk about how everyone needed to go vegan for the animals. This is the same guy who would laugh at videos of animals being abused, not hardcore videos, but still. He later went and got a tattoo to honor the anniversary of his mom's death. But he also told me he was going to have similar tattoos done for his dad and brothers and fill the rest of the tattoos in after they die. That just seemed really off to me. Like he was anticipating early deaths for them, too. After we broke up, my friend came forward to me about the abuse she suffered from him for many years. She was the one who set us up, but he forced her to set us up. I had no idea, but in hindsight it should have been obvious. It's been many years now, but apparently he's still obsessed with me and thinks we will get back together again in the future. Thankfully, he's broke and lives several states away, so I don't worry too much about him finding me. A friend of mine in my hometown was cool to hang out with, he was entertaining, and we had many fascinating conversations. I respected him as very worldly, and he gave me advice about people and women that stood me in good stead. For his part, he liked having someone around he could trust who wouldn't judge him or deceive him in any way. There were flashes of behavior that were beyond my fathoming, however. He would cajole money out of you, saying he needed it desperately. He would pay me back, but I would later learn that he just needed it so he could enjoy the weekend, and not because of any sort of emergency. He would sexually exploit women in really twisted ways. I witnessed him pull a chick in a bar, take her to his place, get a BJ from her, and then throw her out within moments of his climax. I couldn't relate to any of that. He was aggressive, prone to alienating himself from friends, lied about aspects of his life that he didn't need to lie about, and took more illegal drugs than were necessarily good for him. After a failed working holiday in Europe, when I saw a very alienating, very toxic, very undermining side to him, on my return home I looked up the properties of psychopaths and found the following list. I've bolded all the ones that definitely apply to him, and italicized ones that possibly could apply. My little sister, 27 years old, recently was diagnosed as a sociopath. Growing up, we always suspected she couldn't comprehend empathy. For example, as a young child she would get bothered by the sound of someone's breathing and attempt to stop them breathing so she could enjoy silence. The only thing that mattered to her was her own comfort and validation, and she didn't seem to understand anyone else wanted the same. She kept mostly silent her entire childhood and just observed and absorbed all human behaviors around her so she could mimic them. That resulted in her being able to manipulate everyone she comes into contact with. She lived off my parents until she tried to burn the house down as a punishment for them offending her, told her to register the car they bought her, because she equates a personal affront to burning them alive in their home. She currently is living off an asexual guy she's convinced to be her caretaker because sex is an annoying distraction she doesn't want to be bothered with. I love her to death, but it's difficult dealing with her and all the different versions of her other people know. She's a chameleon and it gets her what she wants, but I wonder how lonely it is to never have anyone truly know you. I have to ask, I am fascinated that you love her. Like, is there someone there to love? Seems like loving a machine. I am still trying to figure that out. After many years of her rubber banding our relationship all over the spectrum, I realized how I feel about her is more a reflection of who I am as a person, and I don't want to have regrets on my deathbed. It's definitely unrequited love, but I feel better at the end of the day knowing I am conducting myself the way I want to. She is the youngest of 5 kids, I'm the middle, and I helped raise her after she was born because my mom had medical issues from the birth. Watching her grow and being her sister gave me a good 4 or 5 years of bonding before I stopped projecting my feelings onto her and started noticing signs of her lack of emotion. She could instantly get anything she wanted from us by switching emotions to fit who was in front of her. She cried only when there were people there to notice her, otherwise she was silent. She didn't seem to be stimulated by emotional responses and appeared to be calculating her actions against the people surrounding her. As she grew, she got more manipulative and cared less about keeping up the facade of being normal, and got more cruel as it afforded her more control over the family. We went no contact years ago after I rented us a house after my parents finally told her she couldn't move with them to a new house when she was 21. She refused to pay rent or any bills and just stewed in the resentment between us because she knew I couldn't emotionally handle kicking her out. I had to choose not to renew the lease to get rid of her. She responded by going no contact to punish me because she knows how much I care for her. She still has my number blocked. That's when she found the asexual guy she was working with and moved in immediately. She's been with him since. He doesn't know how she truly is, and he's in love with a cute petite cruel to everyone but me anime innocent little girl facade. We see each other at family functions and she plays the victim so everyone will fawn over her. They'll learn eventually when they're no longer useful to her. She presents herself as an innocent victim of the world and people seem defenseless to it. If I didn't experience her growing up, I would be snowed by her too. I became positive my mother was some classification of psycho/sociopath shortly after my 17th birthday. At the time I was living with my aunt and uncle as my mother had already kicked me out at the age of 15. On the day of my birthday we had a lakeside celebration as I lived in a town right on Lake Travis. Coming out of the water I subbed my foot on a rock at just the right angle that it jams my toenail backwards and embedded into the bone of my left index toe, fracturing it. Some of the worst pain I've ever been in. After having the toenail completely removed and treated for a staph infection from nasty lake water, my mother shows up to the hospital with the fakest maternal act that I of course fell for. She eventually said, "Well, this is just a sign that your little runaway act should end and you should come home." Never mind that she kicked me out, I was actually really happy in getting my act together living with my uncle and aunt. I tell most people I'm adopted by them today. I told her I wasn't coming back to her house and that I had found a good home with them. I said I didn't want to go back to living with her because all we ever did was fight. She got abruptly upset and yanked the 2 pillows out from underneath my operated on broken foot and screamed at me that I was an ungrateful little bastard of a child and made a whole scene in the hospital. Needless to say, I was in a substantial amount of pain after this and even blacked out for a minute there. Years later when I brought up the incident she told me flat out, "I don't regret that. You needed a hard lesson and I'm glad it hurt." Ever since then I've taken notice of how quickly my mother can shift gears if she doesn't get what she wants when she wants it. She'll be as loving and kind as she thinks you want her to be so long as you fall in line with her desires. If you don't though, you are the absolute dogshit scum of the world and you will be punished for breathing the same oxygen as her. We don't have a relationship anymore, just for your information. Geez. How's your father? My father is arguably worse than my mother. Severe meth addict, has never actually quit in 35 years. Disowned me at birth cause my self-admitted whore, her words not mine, of a mother was sleeping with the other man and didn't believe I was his. Didn't meet him till I was 12 and got a DNA test proving he was my father. Lived with him for 3 months in which I was abused by his then wife and physically abused by him regularly. When I told him I didn't want to live with him anymore, he put a shotgun in my face. Last year he tried to reconcile with me, and I him, because he was expecting another child with his then girlfriend who was 39 years his junior that he met in a crack house. I now have a little sister that I've only met once because the mother had to run away from my abusive, unstable father after he threatened on multiple occasions to kill her. He gave me the same threat because I helped her get away from him. We had a hell of a street fight over it. I haven't spoken to him since June of 2021. Before that it has been almost 15 years of no contact. I think it's for the best we aren't in each other's lives. Damn. You must have had a tough upbringing. Hope you're okay. It's been a long road. But I had family that did love me. My aunt and uncle, mom's sister's family, have been the most supportive surrogate parents I could ever ask for. My aunt has helped put me through therapy and my uncle was a pivotal role model in my life. All in all, not having my bio parents in my life has made me a happier person. My wife and kids are also the anchor to my sanity and give me a reason to keep my shit together.